So, welcome back to another Thursday on the Pagan Perspective. I'm your Thursday host, Yeka, and this week we're talking about suffering. So, our viewer wants to know, how does our path or practice help us with the sufferings of life? So, I'm going to approach this with two different sides of it. And usually for me, these are sides that I like to look at together and not really try very hard to see where they connect and overlap and see them as one. But for this topic, we're going to talk about them as different. And that is the belief and practice. So when they say suffering, I am assuming they mean the difficult things that happen. Not as much in the Buddhist sense, but more in the suffering as in, death and sickness and things like that. So coming from the place, so looking at it from a belief place, for me, I believe that my mere existence, that your existence, is so incredibly unlikely, just amazingly, astronomically unlikely, to the point that it's really hard to believe that we actually do exist. I do believe that, but it's pretty hard to believe that. And we can use the very, very surface example of our conceptions, right? So if you think about how many tens of millions of sperm happened at the events that created us, that the sperm that ended up being able to make you, and the sperm that ended up being able to make me, had to be tens of millions. If things had been slightly different, if our parents, I know this topic makes some people uncomfortable to think about, but if your parents' positions had been slightly different, or they had waited a second longer, you probably wouldn't exist. And the same thing for them. For your parents and the parents of your parents, going all the way back to Luca, and maybe far beyond that as well, who knows. And that's one very small level. Every choice that they made that made them meet, that they didn't die in a bus crash, and that's just with humans. We can keep going back beyond past humans, right? Before we were humans, before we were animals, before any of that, the mere existence of our planet is so very unlikely that, the point of all of this is that I have a tremendous amount of wonder and gratitude in getting to exist in the first place. That doesn't mean that I don't get upset about the really shitty things that happen in life, or that I don't try and improve them, or think that people shouldn't care because our existence is amazing. But I find a lot of comfort in that. I don't know if you can see, but this little guy is attacking me. He's very playful right now. And then the second one is looking at practice. And there's a lot of, knocking things over. There's a lot of practices that I have, and you can probably find a lot of very useful ones online that help me to deal with the stress of the suffering, help to protect me on a physical level, right? You bring your stress down, your body is better able to deal with those kinds of events, and those would be things like meditation, journeying, and also coming from a very pragmatic place of getting enough sleep and trying to be in tune with what our natural rhythms would be in terms of our circadian rhythms of night and day and dark and light and those sort of things that we evolved with, and trying to be as in tune with that as possible, with the hopes that that is going to be the best for mental health and for physical health, and where those two meet and where they're really not that different. So we like to talk about them as being different, but one could argue that they're not so different. So, I think I'm umming a lot this video, but I hope that some of that information was useful.